All right, what's going on? See if anybody's showing up yet. Got a pretty exciting one tonight. Looking forward to having this conversation. I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail, but Mr. Ricky Rowland, Angler of the Decade, one of the guys that since I started fishing CKA has always been one of the people that you want to compare yourself against. It was between him, PC, Matt Hodge. Um, these top guys are always fun to try to stick with and try to learn from and see if you can beat them on the lake. And it's never an easy task to do. These guys are great. So I want to go over a couple other things real quick before we start, and that's we do have two events coming up. We get the Winter Series, which we're going to do two more events. There'll be one on January 20th, and there'll be one in February on the 17th. So we have those two events, and starting Monday, it'll be January 1st, and we're doing the January 20 for 24. So we'll have another, I think we're doing through August with the 20 for 24. So we get 8 months of that. And the winner, the points on that, will get winner in the second place in points will get automatic entry into the Tournament of Champions at the end of the year. So it's a chance to get into that. That was the motivation for Mr. Will Lambert last year, and he did well and earned his way in a couple times throughout the season. So, and he won the TOC, so he's already qualified for next year's TOC. So it's a interesting little extra way to compete, and it's 20 fish limit, which is a little different than normal. And we pay out first through third. Usually, it depends on, I think you could have more than 15 people, and we'll do 3 spots. Otherwise, it's first and second. And it's a pretty fun one with 20 fish limit. It mixes it up quite a bit. So I wanted to get those out there and thank all the sponsors for this year that are wrapped around me right now. They all supported us, and we expect most of them to come back this year. We already have a couple confirmations. One is Get Outdoors. Again, is going to head into the 11th year with CKA. Another big one would be Dakota Lithium, who's back on board for 2024, which is pretty awesome. And also Solabat. Trying to think of who's confirmed. Pincushion Tattoo Studio, Fair Cloth most likely, and Mr. Robert Miller, I believe, is coming on again. So we're going to contact a lot of these other guys. We're going to start contacting people more and getting confirmations through January. So we're looking forward to it. It's great to have the big support that we got, and let's get on with it. So let me bring on Mr. Ricky Rowland, and I'll bring on Mr. Hank Fajon as well. What's up, fellas?
Hey, Eric. Hey, Henry.
How you doing, Rick?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good deal. So Mr. Ricky Rowland, star of the night here. When did you start fishing with CKA? What was the first year?
Goodness.
We got Hank here who can pull.
Yeah, Hank's gonna have to tell me that because I don't know exactly. I guess 2013, correct?
Yeah. If you fished that first event, like, do you remember there was a handoff event at Randleman where Carolina Yakfish guys like you and me went and they did a team event, and Corey was there and Wayne was there and Garrett Phillips and the guy who ran Heroes on the Water then, I can see him, I can't remember his name.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, and so that would have been late 2013. But Rick and I were fishing together in Carolina Yakfish before that too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So let me get Rick over on the big screen here. There we go. So how many? You got 7 wins in 10 years. right? Is that how it works? I believe I read that earlier.
Uh-huh.
And there's only 2 years that you didn't get a win. Is that how it worked?
No, no, there were 2 years where he didn't fish much.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, I know I read the
Yeah.
article earlier. So
I think
All right.
the 7 wins are spread out in 5 or 6 years.
okay, yep.
But
What was the
there,
first one? You remember, Rick?
I think the very first one was on the Yakin.
Okay, the Yadkin
That-
River.
Uh-huh. That
Really?
was I think on that tournament, yeah, when I won that, I won a kayak. That was the
Wow.
first place. That was a wieldy kayak, is what it was. Yeah, sure was.
Nice. And who else? Do you remember anybody else in the event that finished around you that you were competing against?
Oh, of course. I think Matt and PC was right there with me. I think Matt. Yeah, we were watching when they were calling out the winners, and I think Matt Hodge was standing right beside me, and his name was called in. I think he got second at that tournament, and right when he did, he kind of nudged me a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal. Now, what was it? You know what the limit was? That was 3 fish, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was 3 fish, but I cannot remember what I had. I sure don't. I know I caught one good one. It was I think it was around a 21 inch bass, and caught it on a crankbait. Yep.
Nice. And what was the second win? Do we have that one?
Second one, I can't remember. Henry might have to help me with that one.
I'm going to pull it up. But let me just say here, since you mentioned Matt and PC, and Eric's going to confirm this in a minute, because we got a couple folks. Eric, we got a couple people waiting in the studio. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yep.
do. Yeah, we do.
So
one
we got a
person.
couple special guests. Everyone who just tuned in, please hang around. But since you mentioned Matt and PC, let me just say that, some guys come up to me and they're like, "Oh no, Hank's here. I'm going to lose all my money again." I'm like, "Man, you have no idea how familiar that feeling is to me, because every event that I would go to, I would look at Matt and PC and Rick and be like, why did I even bother coming here today? What's the point of fishing against these guys? They're so damn good at catching bass. And, I'm down here throwing stuff up in the trees. Like, I'm terrible at this. Why am I even bothering?" So I had a long learning curve, but part of it was watching these guys, like Matt, and the battles that Rick had against Matt and PC were just epic. Like, it was an awesome display of just bass fishing prowess. Like, they would just put on clinics. And, I would fish around them and we'd talk a little bit and stuff like that. But I was just always amazed until eventually, I had my moments and I was like, oh, all right. So that's how they did it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a combination of skill and just being in the right place at the right time, but putting yourself in the right place at the right time. It's not sheer luck,
Yeah.
And Corey and I were talking a while ago. Rick, if you have one around, maybe you can show it and do like a show and tell. But Corey reminded me that you used to carry those big binders full of notes with your fishing notes, and you bring them out to like the KBF events at Kentucky Lake, and we'd see them there.
Oh yeah.
Like, like I got a PhD, and this guy has more books and notes than I do. I'm like, I have no chance. Like, it was amazing that he was that prepared with like binders and notebooks. And I was like, wow, man, this guy is like really committed to catching bass.
I still got him.
And he still got them. Yeah. And I'm not surprised, man. I would say, given the fact that, yeah, you still got some chapters to write. That's for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah, looking at that. I don't know if you have. Where do you have the list of events there?
It's in the CKA Hall of Champions. You'll
The
see
Hall
it
of
there. It's
Champions. Okay.
under galleries on the website.
And another guy, another angler, used to battle back and forth was Buster
Oh yeah,
Swisher.
yeah, oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, he beat me out for Angler of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
remember
the
it
first
coming,
season.
yeah, I remember it's coming down to the wire, and we were battling, and I had to go into the classic and win it. Well, I did win it, but he had enough fish that day. I think he finished, in the top 5 possibly, but
Yeah.
he pulled it out. He pulled it out, but I had to go in to even have a chance. I had to go in and win the Greensboro Classic, and which I got lucky and pulled it off, but I didn't have enough.
Yeah. Amazing.
Let me pull a little special guest in here. Let's see. What's up, Chad?
What's up, y'all?
How's it going?
So look, there's somebody that can say better than me, especially if you're a UFC fan, like what I thought when I saw that Rick won the Angler of the Year. So I'm gonna play this real quick.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
That's the old classic Nate Diaz scene. Well, listen, Rick, I wanted to jump in real quick because Hank reminded me you guys were doing this live stream tonight and say, congratulations. CKA was the most active, most involved, and the kind of the best KBF club that we had this year. And so, as part of that, for the Angler of the Year, you get your national championship entry fee covered. So head over to kayakbassfishing.com/free entry. Follow the instructions on there on registering for the national championship, and then just shoot me a message and I'll take care of adding your entry to it. Try to do it before the 31st, so that way it only hits me for 200 versus 300 or 400. So if you get that done, I'll take care of you there. And then, man, I got to say this because you actually mentioned it. I know Buster really well. I've followed a lot of these smaller trails. I say smaller, meaning not national, and the up and coming of everything. And I watched a lot of those battles. I've gotten so damn busy now that I haven't been able to watch them as much as I used to. And then I took a couple years off of social media just to get my head right. But what a lot of people don't realize is that if you look at what's kind of going on in Middle Tennessee with some of the Tennessee clubs around Nashville, if you look at some of the places out west around, where Bryce Gibbs and them have that club over there, and you look at what you guys do at CKA, and then you look at one or two of the clubs up there in the Northeast, there are guys that just don't travel the trail series and the Hobie BOSs and the stuff as much as everybody else, but are absolute hammers. And I firmly believe if you're one of those guys that was on the road like everybody else is, your name would be in that mix with every name that everybody in kayak fishing kind of knows. And it's insane how this sport has developed to where there's these silos of competition around the country that, in my opinion, there's 6 or 8 guys in that thing that could compete in any tournament level with any skill set anywhere in the country. And you're definitely one of those guys. I remember the notebooks. I used to be a hardcore logbook guy myself until I started doing a lot of stuff digital. And I don't know if you remember this, but you were telling somebody about it at the national championship, and I was just kind of standing there peeking over your shoulder, and you talked about how you had it organized and all that other stuff. And I was just like, wow. Like, I remember being that anal, but I gave up on it when digital came along, and you're still doing it the hard way, right? Which is great, And Hank and I've actually had a couple conversations about you over the years, just in him talking about like you said you had to go do to win the classic to beat Buster. He has said that to me about you. Hey, dude, I'm going to be off the grid for a couple days. I got to go get a couple extra days of pre-fishing. If I have any chance of beating, naming 3 or 4 people off, and your name was always in that mix. Eric, unfortunately, your name was never in the mix, man. I'm sorry.
No,
he just never considered you competition. But
not in North Carolina. I have to be out of North Carolina to do any good.
Just messing with you. But look, man, I wanted to just jump in and say congrats. I think these Angler of the Year titles are the most prestigious titles in the game because it's what comes down to consistency. And I think that when you're a guy like you who just told the story of how you went to a classic and you had to win it to win Angler of the Year and you won it and still didn't win Angler of the Year, I think it makes winning it mean that much more when you come back and do win it because you know how hard it is to win it by finishing second or not winning it in other years. And so, man, I'm jealous of you guys that get out there and compete. I know I'm not good enough to compete with 95% of the competitors out there, but I miss it. And the thing that has always intrigued me, and the thing that I've always felt like a certain kinship to the way you carry yourself, is how just like a good dude you are. Like how I heard you talking to people at tournaments before, telling them all the work you've put in to give them the information that you worked hard for, to just share it for free. You know what I mean? And there's just not a lot of people that do that stuff in this sport anymore. So if we could clone you, 10,000 times in this sport, we'd have a much better community. So my literal hats off to you, man, for being a good ambassador for the sport, a good representative. I got a little something extra for you out that I can announce that I'm going to take care of you for being part of CKA in the way of some gift cards. So hit me up after this.
Okay.
Get my number from one of these guys if you don't have it. And then, like I said, I'm going to take care of your national championship entry fee. And then congratulations on your wins. Well deserved. And for all the people that are watching that don't know what it looks like to be an amazing angler, that dude right there. That's all you got to do. Emulate how he acts off the water, on the water, the preparation part of it, all that stuff right there. So congratulations, brother. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to all you guys. And like I said, just hit me up after this and I'll take care of you. So
Sounds good.
and thank you to
Chad.
all. Yeah, thank you to all of you guys at CKA. You guys are, man, honestly, if we had 50 clubs like y'all around the country, we'd have the best community in the world. And so for the folks that are watching that might not be part of CKA, watch what these guys do. This is the template for how you do it right. 100%, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. There's a lot of people that make my life difficult. You guys are the ones that really make it easy. So I appreciate y'all a lot. I really do. So,
Thank you, Chad.
I'm going to shut up and get out of here now and just go back to listening. And y'all have a good night. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, brother.
Right, later,
Thanks,
brother.
Bye.
Thank you.
Where are we here? There we go. All right. Well, there you go. Mr. Chad Hoover, special appearance. So, yeah, there you go. You get a national championship in, I don't know if you can make it this year, April 6th. The week before April 6th, right? That week. Was it the 4th and 5th, I think?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
That's in
check
Gunnersville.
schedule. Definitely check my schedule and see what's going on, and hopefully I can get down there.
I know a bunch of guys are going, so we'll have to get some houses or something.
Yeah,
Like the old days, get a CKA house.
that's right.
Yeah, that's what we got to do.
And
For sure. All right. Good deal. So I was looking at the list here of the different deals we have. Let's see, 2015 was when you won your first one. That was Yadkin River. 2016, you won Randleman and Randleman and Gate City. So was that the one you were talking about, the Gate City?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's
Okay.
when Buster and I was battling out for Angler of the Year.
Nice. And let's see. Next one came in.
Rick, if I could, Eric, I'm just going to pause here. I think that event at Randleman that you won in 2015, I want to say that was like that one really big event that was like almost 100. It was like 95 people or something like that. And it was like a huge payout, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it!" Like it was crazy. You got big bass and you won first place, and we went home with a couple grand. And back then, it was like a couple grand was like, "Oh man, it's a lot of money."
Oh,
right.
definitely.
And it's still good money, but back then it felt like really good money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, that was 2016. And 2018 was it 2018? I just saw it. Jordan Lake was the next one. Do you remember that event?
I do. I do.
Tell-
Used to fish Jordan Lake with a friend of mine who passed away. We used to go down in a bass boat, and we would always put in Robeson Creek is where we launched out of. And so we generally stayed around in that area and learned the lake and down there around the dam and so forth. And I just remembered those areas where we used to go, and there would always have fish. And I don't even think I practiced for that tournament. I just went on a whim and launched and just started hitting those spots that we used to fish with. And to be honest with you, you know, Bud Lennons was the guy's name. And I think he was with me that day because it was phenomenal. I mean, it was, I think Garrett Phillips, he kind of went along with me that day. And I was just catching them left and right. I mean, 20 inches. Just, it was, every time I hit a brush pile and pulled it through the brush pile, I had a 20-inch bass on it, you know, 4 or 5 pound bass. And it was a great day.
Nice. That was like the second year I think I was fishing, so I probably was there. I don't remember it because I was probably in like 30th place or something, but
I remember that event, Rick. I launched it at Robeson. I got into a few decent fish early. I had like, you know, top 15. I was somewhere like 15th place. I remember that day clearly because we all met up on that field at the Farrington ramp, and I ordered pizza for everybody.
Yeah.
And I remember that check-in because you won, and I ordered pizza, and also because both Jacob and Josh Miles were there, and I think that's the last time I saw Josh at an event. And their parents showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, man, let me just thank these people for making such good kids who fish with us. And, you know, they were kind of green and young then, you know. And, you know, Jacob, man, the guy he's a killer. I mean, he does it all from a bass boat and a kayak.
Oh, yeah. He's right up the road here.
Yep.
Yeah, I pass by his place every day. And Joshua was over, you know, one road over from me too. So.
Oh yeah, if you see Josh, tell him we said hello and get him out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now you say that, I think I remember Jacob was coming by me as I was pulling in a 22 and change that day. That I got on a Nico rig with a real thin wire hook that was barely skin hooked on the fish, and how I got it up to the kayak and lifted it because I didn't have a net. And he's just going by me going, what the? And yeah, I think someone beat me by like a quarter of an inch for big bass that day. So yeah, I do remember that one a little bit.
Well,
once you brought up the pizza,
some of these, if you click on some of these links, it'll go to the standings for some of them. Yeah, here it is. I got it. I hyperlinked the standings for these.
Oh, nice.
So Joshua Miles got 4th place that day. Joey Sullivan was in 3rd. PC was in 5th. Ronnie Murphy in 2nd. And Big Bass was, it doesn't say here. Doesn't say. Oh yeah, Rick, you had 61 inches. Wow. That's a good bag. Even at, you know, Jordan sometimes is finicky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 22-inch bass I had that day.
Yeah, I see it here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Okay. Yes, that's on that 22 and a quarter. That was Wayne. I don't know if you got big bass or not with that.
Wow.
Tommy
That's
Young
cool.
at 22 and a half. Some big fish, 23 and a quarter from Josh Miles.
Yeah, that must have got it.
Yeah. It's a nice fish caught that day for sure.
Mm-hmm.
When are we going to Jordan? Going to Jordan? We're going back finally.
Going to Jordan June, end of June, some point, 24th or something like that.
I want to say it's around the same time of year as this event. This was July 14th.
Yep.
Yeah, I know the fish really good this past June at Jordan, so I'm looking forward to that one. It should be good. Let's see when's the next one at. Sammy Joey. Cape Fear. That was interesting. That was in 2020 with it was about 4 of you guys were up on the top of that river, I think, smashing them.
Actually, I stayed between the ramp and the dam.
Is that where you were?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I stayed on the lower part of it that
All
day.
right.
Yeah, I was fishing along the creek channel, wherever I found your hangovers or wood in the water, close to the creek channel. That's where I was getting my bites that day.
Nice. And then you won the Reese Lucas event, the very next event. I think you were at Reese, right? Because I think we were fishing the same water.
Yeah.
Yep. That's when I first noticed how much you stick to something. You're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You were zoned in on something, and it was a spot that I did find in practice, but you wouldn't move, so I had to just let it go.
Yeah, that's Rick.
I was like, come on. But yeah, that was a tough one.
That's an amazing quality that you have, Rick. I've always admired it. Shelly and I have talked about it quite often. I've talked about it with some other anglers. Shelly and I are very similar. We like to move, like we're just constantly looking. And there's Joey. What's up, Joey? I'm gonna say something here too, just because Joey's name came up. Joey and I have a running joke, like whenever we're looking at and there's Corey. Whenever we're looking at standings for like a big event, if somebody has like 108 inches and it looks like they have it in the bag, we always joke that you're uploading 115 inches. Like, oh, Rick just put up 115. It's over.
Yeah.
Gonna talk sweet to you again.
I think I got the early. Well, I think I got the a lot of the sandbagging. Was my name was brought up whenever somebody was talking about sandbagging. I mean, to me, I just like I didn't upload any fish normally until I had my 5 fish. That's when I normally uploaded my fish. So, so usually, yeah, that fell, after lunchtime or once the channel's been taken down where you couldn't see, who was leading or what the points were. So.
I want to ask you something though, Rick, because I was looking at this and I was there at that event because Eric just mentioned Reese. When I compiled the record of all the CKA tournaments, CKA went on Tourney X in 2017. So 2016, 2015, 2014, those were all spreadsheets that Wayne Butler had.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we all used to sit around and wait for Wayne to post up the photos of the standings on the board, right, on the whiteboard, and then post up the standings, like the spreadsheets of the points for the Angler of the Year race. Yeah, Keith. What's up, Keith? And I went through all those records, and there's a tournament here that I cannot find a record for. There are 2. I think Buster won the one at Lookout Shoals. I have a memory of that. But the one at Reese, I want to say you either won it or you were up there.
I remember winning a tournament on Reese, but I couldn't tell you what year it was.
Yeah. I mean, you won that most um that Eric is talking about, the multi-lake event, but the
Yeah.
one that I'm thinking of, it was only like the second or third CKA tournament. Um and I
Yeah,
remember
2014, it was the third event at Lake
yeah,
Reese.
yeah. And I couldn't find a record for who the standings for two of those events. I went through the
Hmm.
Facebook page, the website. I bothered Wayne. So there might be an extra win in there somewhere for you. I don't remember who won that event precisely though. You know, it's been over 10 years now. If you know, if that record never turns up, it never turns up.
It
Um,
may have been Buster, to be honest with you, because Buster was really strong on Reese.
yeah.
He had a spot way upriver that he went to, and
Mm.
he caught him. He caught him there one of the tournaments I know. So it may have
Yeah.
been that
Might have
2014.
been Buster. Yeah, it might have been that one.
Yeah.
Because I remember we used to chat and talk, but at that event, I think I left early, and I didn't stick around for the results. I had to get somewhere. Anyway, what's the next one on there, Eric?
Let me scroll back up here. 2018.
Oh yeah, this was the year you and I went at it.
What, 2019?
Yeah, 2021. Oh no, yeah, 2019. No, 2020 is the year that he won the back-to-back events. 2021 was the year that Rick beat me.
2020, he won back to back, Cape Fear and Lucas. And then
Yep,
2021 was Falls Lake.
Falls. Yep. Tell us about that event, Rick. That was the year that I had a decent lead in the AOI standings, and you made a charge and caught fire.
Yeah, I was just, I don't know. It's just, uh, I got in a rhythm. It's once you get your confidence, you get in the top five or so forth. You get your confidence going, and then it just keeps going and going and going. Just keep carrying over from tournament to tournament. You almost kind of get a pattern where okay, if I'm catching fish here on rock, then it's a good chance other lakes that have rocks, you can go in there and duplicate that same pattern.
Yeah.
And I just got on a roll and was able to duplicate a pattern. I can't remember what that pattern was now, but I just got on that similar pattern and was able to carry it over from tournament to tournament.
So I remember that summer going into that falls event. I started fishing up the river more that year because I was sick in the main lake. And I remember thinking, man, Rick has been building up some points. I need to do better. Need to have a good event. I think I got 10th place or something like that. I had a pretty slow day. I was fishing with Joey, and he was right up there with you that day. And then I was like, man, Rick he's catching me. Like this is trouble. Like I started to feel like that voice in my head, like man, you need to practice more. And so instead of just pre-fishing once for a tournament, I was going out 2, 3 times, checking the lake, doing everything. So that next event after that was the tournament at Randleman that Marcus won. And Marcus and I were sitting at the ramp when we launched, and we were both kind of doing that thing where you just kind of let your kayak drift slowly in the direction where you're heading to kind of get, like you don't want anyone to see you like hurrying up to get somewhere like on the outer edge of the group that's waiting near the dock. And
Mm-hmm.
it was still kind of dark, and all of a sudden, Marcus has that. He's got that like it's a Carolina accent, but there's a touch of Pittsburgh in there because he's got some yinzer in him. And I see the cigarette lighter go in the dark, and he's like, "Are you going where I'm going, Henry?" And I was like, "Oh no, man, we're going to the same spot." And we ended up in that same area. Rick, tell the story of how that day went for you, if you remember it, because it was impressive.
Uh, I just went out and I was fishing. Everything I was fishing that day was offshore. I was hitting the humps, the deep water channels, channel swings is what I was hitting that day. And wherever they come into a point, that's where the fish were just stacked. There's some areas on the upper Randleman that are phenomenal. I mean, a few years ago, I watched Shelly get on an area, and he was catching 17s, back to back, almost every other cast. I went around, I left him and went around to another spot and found the same situation where the fish were just sitting on the backside of a point, just waiting for any bait fish to come over top of it. They were sitting in 10 to 12 foot of water, and anything you pulled across that point and dropped it off in that channel, they would just hammer. So
that was late in the day.
Yeah, it was. It was that morning. That morning, I was watching Shelly just wearing them out, and I couldn't get a bite. And then I was like, I got to get away from him and go find my own thing, because it was spinning me out, to be honest with you. Just watching what he was doing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I remember that day. I was like, man, Rick's not posting fish. Maybe I got this. And then I think you finished one spot ahead of me, like got fourth or something like that. And Marcus got first. He won it, and we were fishing side by side all day, like rotating in and out of this one little area. That was an exciting event. I knew that we had an awesome, race going at that point. And then the next two events, looking at them here, after that kind of fizzled out for me, at least. I pre-fished well at Mayo, and we're going back there this year, right, Eric? We're going back to Mayo.
Yeah, we're gonna hit Mayo in August this year.
That was
I think it was August that year too. So
yeah, that was the lake that anglers chose, right?
Yep.
We put up a poll.
Yep.
So I remember pre-fishing Mayo, I did well, and then I came back and I didn't do well. But you had a bad day that day too, and we went into the Gate City Classic where you had a pretty good lead, but I could still catch you. And what happened that day when you won AOI? Tell us about your day.
Yeah, from being so close so many times in the past, and then finally to get it, it was just a weight lifted off my shoulders, because that's when I go into a tournament season, that's what I'm going for, Angler of the Year. So I'm sure everybody else is too, but it's a major feat to win Angler of the Year with the type of anglers that we have in this CKA, and even the other anglers that come over from other series as well. I mean, nobody's guaranteed to win with the talent that is in the tournaments, any of the tournaments that you go to around this country. It's I chalk it up, a lot of luck sometimes, because I may not have something where I can go to and catch fish, but as the day goes on, I just start picking stuff apart and figuring it out. And then, like I said, just get lucky, in my opinion, get lucky lots of times and stumble across something. And you're like, then the light bulb comes on. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can do this. They're on the back side of points. They're not on the front side of points. They're on the back side of points. So then I start hitting that, and I start, getting my numbers or getting my size. And at the end of the day, I wind up, close to the top.
So, Rick, at that tournament, at that Gate City Classic, I remember that one was memorable because Matt Hodge showed up, and he hadn't fished with us in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think he fished 2 events that season. He also fished Car Scott with us. That event, he won. Great standings here. Like, if you look at it, it's a murderer's row. Matt, then Justin Faircloth in second, Keith McGee in third, Joey Sullivan in fourth, Brian Cholkus in fifth, Shelley was in seventh, Garrett Chavis in eighth, Dustin Matthews in ninth. I got 10th place, Eric 11th, Jeremy Olszewski, Jared Stanley, I think he won rookie of the year, Brooks, Jeremy Hicks, and you got 17th. And that day, I didn't I had to gain ground on you. And it was like
Yep.
that time you fished against Buster and you knew you had to do that much and you
Yep.
still came up just a little short. So the roles were reversed. And since we're on the topic here, Rick, to this day, losing that Angler of the Year title was one of the best things that ever happened to me in this sport. And I got a lot of history and memories because I lost it to a guy who deserved it more than anybody.
What?
And you beat, like, you continually, like, just, you know, fished hard and never let up. And even on those tough days, it was like you just kept going. And I was like, yep, this one's Rick's. At the end, I was like, I'm going to give him everything I got. I emptied the clip.
Oh.
And when it was over, I was like, I was as happy for you as if I had won it. So it was a really great race, and I'll always be grateful for that Angler of the Year race because I never thought that I was good enough to compete or have a chance against an angler like you, right? So that for me was like, yeah, okay, I left my, I'm good.
I remember seeing Rick in pre-fishing the week before that event, and we were both on the same pattern doing well. And then I saw him during that event, and he was looking as I've never seen Rick look defeated, but he looked defeated at like 12 o'clock. And he looked at me, he goes, are you catching him the same way you were last week? I was like, nope. And he was just like, damn. So that was definitely interesting to watch because I knew what was going on with all the points and what had to happen, and I knew what was going on. So it was to see that, I was like, uh-oh, this is going to get interesting.
Yeah.
I remember, I have a pretty good memory. I remember every fish from that season. Every single bite, every fish, I just remember them all very clearly because I was so focused and dialed in on trying to win my first Angler of the Year title. And it was such a pleasure to, and this year with Will Lambert, it's the same thing, like going head to head with such a great angler. It was such an honor. But Rick, that was really nice seeing you finally get that CKA title because I knew that you'd come close so many times, just like you said. That was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was an honor. Like I said, fishing against the quality of anglers, and that's what makes, in my opinion, that's what makes me strive to go after it so hard, is just because I know the quality of anglers that CKA has. You can't let your guard down. You got to stay on your game. If you're not on your game, then you're just donating to the pot.
Yeah. And we've all been there, man.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep. I'm mostly donating. I got lucky last year a couple times, but that was it. Usually I'm just a donator. But it's fun. You learn so much from these guys. There's so many guys in this club that are like Rick, that'll tell you what's going on and what maybe not while you're fishing against him, but definitely at the end of the day, they'll share it with you. And, you're smart, you listen. Because there's a lot of good anglers with a lot of good experience that fish our events. So that's why I kind of like doing these, because there's people aren't watching these, they're losing out because they've had a lot of guys, a lot of good anglers on this live deal, giving out some good secrets. So definitely people should be paying attention.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Eric, that when Justin Faircloth, I remember he was fishing Macintosh and he was talking about using a flutter spoon where he was at. And, over the past 10 years, just all of the techniques, the different techniques that you see that have evolved from the bass boats to the kayak series now. So you got your flutter spoons, you got your drop shot, you can go out there and basically fish any way a bass boat angler can fish, except you can get into some places where bass boats can't get.
Yep.
And even just like Macintosh, we have the side electric only side. Well, the fish on that side are not pressured as hard. So you can go in and experiment with some of these techniques, drop shots, jigs, whatever you want to learn. You can go over in that side and, learn that technique a whole lot easier than you can going to a lake that's wide open, that's pressured so hard with the bass boats and any kind of fishing, any kind of angler fishing. But that's helped me out. That was a big, thing that helped me through the years. Going to areas where you can go and practice these techniques and get bites and learn a technique and carry it on to a tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, you can fine tune it at these less pressured lakes, like all these small lakes that we can fish that big boats don't like to go to.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we're so lucky to have that here. And speaking of what Rick just said, I'll never forget KBF Trail back in the day when the clubs used to host the trails. We hosted one at Falls.
Mhm.
And I remember Rick was saying, yeah, Falls is a good place to practice for Kentucky Lake. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, that's crazy. And then I looked at it, I put the contour maps together and I was looking at them and I was like, well, man, they are similar in some ways, in a lot of ways. And I was like, man, that's crazy that, I was like, I need to really sharpen up my map study now too. And I started paying more attention and stuff like that because Rick made that comment, like, yeah, I'm going to go practice for the KBF National Championship at Falls Lake. I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the ledge fishing on Falls was that popular, but apparently it's a big thing, which I still haven't really done much of it there, but definitely a place to go practice it. There've been some big ones going on there this year, which we'll be there in May with that Carolina Classic.
Yeah.
That should be insane too.
Yeah.
Good deal. I think that was it as far as the winnings went.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Good deal. So what are you looking forward to this year, Rick? You gonna be fishing the whole season, or what's the plan?
That's my goal. I upgraded to a new kayak last year. I got the Native Watercraft Slayer Propel Max, and going forward with that, I put a motor guide trolling motor on the front of it. So
it's going electric.
yeah, and the couple tournaments that I fished last year, sitting out there and you got another spot, another, half mile away, it's no second guessing now. I it's like put the motor on high and go hit it, and I've done that and a couple times and I'm like, yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm not, I'm still fresh. I'm not wore out because I'm pedaling all over the lake and going from here to there. And then I'm not second guessing myself either because I'm able to hit these spots. So hopefully this year I can really put it to work and see if it pays off.
Yep. Yeah, I will say it was kind of funny because I had that electric motor that paid off for me at the which event was that? The Battle on the Border. It paid off that I had because I was doing that. I was bouncing like different pockets. I kept running around, but checking them, going back and forth, and I scraped 5 fish up in one somehow. And then the Tournament of Champions, it was the opposite. My motor broke, and because I wasn't zipping all around, I was able to pick apart everything and catch the fish to win. So it's pros and cons to it. So
yeah,
because I know when I was fishing at the TOC and without the motor, I kept looking across, going, I should go over there. Now I'm not going to pedal over there, and I would have with the motor. So I would have left the spot that I won with. So it kind of worked out. So it's good, but you got to know when to not do it.
That's right. Or you get to a lake, McIntosh, for example, and there's, I got so many spots on McIntosh, I can see where, it's going to hurt me because I want to go hit everything. versus locking down and staying where the fish are and, you know, trying to get them to bite or hopefully get them to bite before the day's out.
Yeah. Yeah. The not leaving fish to find fish thing's bit me a few times.
Oh yeah.
That'll be interesting. Should be an interesting year. And it's interesting with that Hobie news. They're going to have trolling motors now. So there's going to be a lot more people, I think, that are going to be powering up this year.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't bother because they were fishing Hobie and they didn't want to bother powering up and then not being able to use it. So something tells me you're going to see a lot more motors all around because of that.
Yeah. Well, just like, you know, there again in the 10 years, you know, the technology in the way of, you know, you got specific fishing rods now for everything. Chatterbait rod, you know, jerkbait rod, you know, how much has the fishing line and tackle evolved in the last 10 years? You know, rod manufacturers, lure manufacturers, you know, it's astonishing what's coming out each and every day. Not just plastic baits, but you know, everything. Your giant swim baits. Look at that.
Yeah, it's
how
gone
much
nuts.
impact that's made in the last few years.
Yeah, Millikins just came out. They're hitting the shelves now. So there's a ton of them out there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. And it's funny because you say that and I thought about it real quick and I have 4 different rods, one for a jig, one for a Texas rig, one for a chatterbait, and the other one's a little more heavy for different things. And I would have had just a medium heavy rod. I would have thrown all 4 of those things on a medium heavy 7-foot rod and like wouldn't even have thought twice about it. But now they're dialed in on those 4 different rods. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think many years ago when they used to have the one of the seminars at the Greensboro Coliseum, Kevin Van Dam was there. And that's when he come out with his glass rod for crankbait fishing. And that, you know, just listening to him and so forth. And I used to throw the old Pose crankbaits a lot. And when I would, you know, I'd have a hard time hooking up because like you were mentioning, I had them on a medium heavy rod. So therefore, when the fish hit, I was just pulling it out of their mouth, especially early season, you know, in cold water conditions, you know, because they weren't that aggressive. But then I changed up my rod selection and went with a softer, forgiving rod, and I was able to get those fish in the kayak.
Yep, those I found out with a chatterbait rod. I know Corey and Jody were telling me, I don't know how long that I need to get a specific rod, and I could just whatever. But my buddy made me one, and sure enough, my hookup ratio just like tripled. So it makes a difference for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good deal. So with this race that he did, we had what are the other top anglers, Hank, that were in contention if they had made it happen?
I think there were only 3 or 4 who were within striking distance. PC was the obvious one. Then there was Bob Dayton. I think he's on 4 wins still. I don't think I saw him much this year.
I think I saw him once.
Yeah.
Harris, I think maybe, or
Yeah, maybe that was the one. And then Brian Cholkus, who's just been on fire the last few years. The guy's fishing like a boss. You know, he came on here. Remember, you had him on here a while ago. He was talking about confidence. And, you know, I think, you know, I mean, he laid low for a while, but the guy's been fishing since the first season. He's been a CKA angler. So there's no denying the fact that he's a veteran angler who is, you know, really come on strong the last few seasons. So I think it was PC, Bob, and Brian in that order were within striking distance. There might have been a couple others with 3 wins. Keith McGee, I think, has 4. He might be up on that list. It's all in that. I shut the browser window down that I had the Hall of Champions on it. But I update that pretty regularly to make sure that I don't lose track of who's won and who's done what. And so I think it was Keith, Joey, Bob Dayton, Brian, PC, and Bob were the 5 closest to Rick in terms of like being within striking distance.
Yeah, now
But-
Matt Hodge, Will Lambert, Joey Sullivan all have 3 wins.
Yeah, but like Rick said, man, that's a tough hill to climb because the quality of the anglers, I mean, basically CKA was just, it was like a college for so many guys for so many years, where like everybody studied and then they went out and did their thing elsewhere. And it was like, I'm never surprised when I look at standings from other clubs, because I know that a lot of these guys have, come on strong because they learn from, years of practice and competition. Now, of course, there's another generation of younger guys coming into the sport who are amazing. They're totally amazing, and they haven't been around nearly as long, but they went, they figured it out in other ways. They just didn't do it through the clubs. So, I mean, just the amount of fresh talent that's constantly coming in and mixing with the older anglers. It's just remarkable to see that over the years. I feel so lucky to have watched this sport grow and, come through it with guys like Rick from the start, because, man, it's crazy these days. It's really wild watching just
Nice.
the calendar. I mean, Rick, you remember back in the Carolina Yakfish days, it was, you'd have to wait 6 weeks between each tournament.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was hell.
Yeah, you were ready to get
Yeah.
on the water and nothing was going on. That's the only tournament series that was going on. So
Yep.
you had to wait, to get out there and do the tournament scene, and like you said, 6 weeks out or so forth. And
Mhm.
now you got a tournament about every weekend you can go
Yep.
to.
Yeah, if there isn't a holiday, there's a tournament.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
2.
Yeah.
Or 2. Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
and then if you want to travel, you got a smorgasbord of
Mhm.
any and everything. Anything. I'm talking about from saltwater to catfish to crappie, you name it. There's so many different kayak series going on now. You can pick from whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome thing. CKA had a great season last year with turnout. I'm doing a little bit of a write-up about that, like a thank you to everybody for 10 good years and looking ahead to the next 10 years. Rick, what do you see the next 10 years looking like for you as a fisherman and for us in the state as a sport?
I think it's going to continue to grow as a sport. I don't see it declining anyway, just for the fact of, prices are going up on everything, like your bass boats and stuff. And if people want to get on the water, especially new anglers, kayak series is a great way to start out. Get your feet wet and learn your techniques, and then carry it over to the bass boat if you'd like, if you can get into that aspect of fishing. But it's going to grow. I don't see why it can't grow.
Yeah.
With all the just like CKA and all the other organizations out there. I mean, there's a lot of promoting going on. You got some great sponsors coming in with the clubs. It's going to grow. Yep.
Yeah, let's give a shout out. There's a tournament this weekend, right, Eric, with Central Carolina Kayak Fishing. They're doing a
Yeah.
Wildcat.
Yeah, there's a little wildcat going on at Jordan Lake out of the Ebenezer ramp. Central Carolina Kayak Fishing's putting that on. $20 entry fee, $5 big bass, 15 for the event. Should be a good one. I know it's Jordan's way up. It was way down a couple weeks ago when we had that winter event. It's gone up by what 6-7 feet, I think, since then. In the
Wow.
last 2 rainstorms, and so it's going to make it interesting. But the bass are biting good. That weekend, a couple weekends ago, was I think 27 pounds won the bass boat at Wildcat that was there. So the fish are still aggressive, and they're still biting over Jordan, and the big ones are biting. So it's worth it. And we got our 20 for 24 starting in January, and we got the rest of the winter series as well that I talked about earlier. So plenty of events. We didn't give a break for ourselves this year. We decided to keep going. I think we took November off, and that was it. So, but if they want it, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I like these winter months. Rick, do you like fishing in the cold?
Well, like I was talking with Eric earlier, I got so much going on after the, Greensboro Classic is done or Gate City Classic is over with. I'm out there deer hunting. I'm in a deer stand, and I'm after some deer, and then now on top of that, I'm duck hunting. So I'm out there. I'm out in the outdoors doing something. But yeah, once it does get cold, I kind of, don't necessarily want to get on the water as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rich Biggie's making fun of us saying the cold because he's up in New York.
What's up, Rich?
Oh man,
Eric, did you know that I like where I grew up? I was fishing those lakes at Rich's Club fishes.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna try to get up there this year and fish one of his events. I think.
Well, I'm gonna look at the schedule. There's one lake that I have a particular fondness for. It's in Harriman State Park, which is in the lower counties. It's lower Rockland County, I think, in upstate New York. And they have a great kayak fishing scene up there. A lot of clubs. But there's one lake in that state park where they occasionally do tournaments, and every time they do one, I'm like, oh man, I got some CKA or KBF or something else going on, and I can't go. But yeah, I'll do a road trip. We'll fish one of my home lakes, and we'll fish one of yours, Eric. We'll go up and fish with those guys.
Yeah, it's the same thing up there. I see the Massachusetts kayak anglers. I think that's what it's called, or whatever it is. I see them when they post their lakes. I'm always like, oh, I want to do that. Brutal.
Oh yeah, and we got this new club here. Ask Daniel. Daniel, what's the name of your club?
Yeah, Daniel's starting a new club. He's going to be at Sutton on February 24th, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You're going to compete with Murray, unfortunately.
Oh, the Bass event at Murray.
Bass will be at Murray on the 24th. Yeah. Harriman or Candlewood. Candlewood, yeah. I never got to fish. My club or the state used to do state events there, and I never got to go to those, being a single parent. So I always wanted to fish Candlewood, so I wouldn't mind going up for that. I'll go for anything. It's got a smallmouth in the lake, I'll go.
We just, that other place at Harriman, a buddy of mine spread some ashes there. A friend of ours passed away, a guy I used to fish there with. That place has Port City Kayak Anglers. That's it. Cool. Good name, Daniel. Good luck with that.
Yeah. So what were you saying? The what?
I forgot. I'm old. Tired.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of good lakes up in that area that I miss. That's about the only thing I miss from the Northeast is some of the fishing. So a little different.
Really, man? I don't know. Dee and I were talking. We were driving today, and I was like, I'd love to fish some of those smaller lakes. Wow, that's great, Rich. I would love to go fish some of those, like, people don't think, like, they think New Jersey's just like a swamp, but up where I grew up, there were just a lot of deep lakes, and they go straight down. They're full of weeds, and it's like really cold water, weird fishing. so different from what I've learned here, and part of my story, and, Rick knows this because I used to pick his brain all the time at tournaments, was just trying to figure out not how to catch bass, but how to fish these big lakes and break them down. Like that for me was the big challenge. And that's why it took me so many years to, develop confidence and techniques and things like that, because I had to figure out how to break down a lake on the one half, but break it down in a way that suited strengths as an angler. And I was just going out and fishing random stuff and just like not thinking about where I was as much. So finding that medium between who you are as a fisherman and what kind of water you're fishing and breaking down that kind of water was important, because like up north, those lakes just aren't as big. You don't have to think as much about breaking them down. You've got to figure out what those pressured fish want to eat. And that's a bit different. So, yeah, it was a challenge, man. It's interesting.
Swamp fishing.
Swamp fishing. Yeah, some of those lakes are kind of swampy in central New Jersey. Rick, are you what are you doing these days? What are you up to? You rigging that new boat?
Oh, it's rigged out. It's ready to go.
Wow.
I got some. I got to make an order. Get me some more line in so I can respool all my rods. Probably need to change some treble hooks on some crankbaits. So get that knocked out, and then I'll be ready. Should be ready to roll.
Nice.
Yep.
You get to go to lithium batteries all set?
Yeah, I need to. Yeah, I need to get something. Definitely look at them for the trolling motor battery.
Definitely. They got some. They did Dakota Lithium. I don't know if everyone knows this. They did change their warranty this year. They had 11-year warranty, and it was prorated, like every other warranty usually is. This year, they swapped it where it's replacement 11 years period, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
that's really good.
That's a guarantee I can deal with it. I mean, they're a little more expensive than the typical, Walmart lead acid stuff, but they're going to guarantee it for 11 years, and that's good money in your pocket.
That's right.
For sure. So I'm looking forward to them being back this year. I actually talked to Stormy. He's probably going to come on. He'll either come on CKA's live here, or I'll do a Bass Trail live, one or the other, talk about battery tech and kayaks and all that stuff. So should be interesting to get some info if you want to figure out what battery is best to run your 24 volt, 36 volt, 12 volt, whatever, or your electronics. I know they had some improvements in their technology too, so should be interesting. Well, let's see. If anyone's got any questions for Rick, you can get them in now. There's a few people out there. All right. So what you up to, Hank? What's going on with you? Why we got you on here?
Nothing, man. I mean, I just something, man, I've just been lazy. I haven't been doing much. I'm a notorious busybody. I'm always moving. It's like yard work, little stuff, fix this, fix that, or work on projects. If I turn my camera here, you can see all these books I'm fixing to read. Like, I've got things to do for work. I've got this or that. But the last week and a half or so, I finished my grading exams and doing that. I've been taking it easy. I mean, I went out, I did that winter event with CKA. I don't think I hit the water until 9 or 10 o'clock.
Nice.
I mean, if I'm going to go out and fish this time of year, I want to fish for fun more than for competition. And frankly, next year, I think every year I've been telling myself, do it differently. Don't just go in and say, okay, I'm going to fish just this trail and do this. Keep your options open and just let the season take you where you should go. And every year it ends up being me grinding out for an Angler of the Year race 3 years in a row. and I'm a little tired from 3 years of trying to, win one of these damn trophies. I finally got one. I feel good, you know.
Yeah.
It was really, really tiring this year, and I had some health issues on the back end of it. So going into next year, you mentioned Murray. I'm either going to go fish Murray for the bass event or KBF the next weekend, or I'm going to do both. I don't know. But back in the day, you've been doing them consistently, Eric. But back in the day, Rick and I, we would travel all over the country and do some of these bigger national trails with KBF because that's all there was back then. And I would like to get to doing that again and seeing some of those big lakes and fishing against that top flight, that top 2% of tournament anglers. But a part of me is just happy. Like, we've got a great thing here. I love the local clubs. Last year, I fished at least one tournament with every club. So 4 clubs. I fished Queen City, CKA, Foothills, and CCKF. And with CCKF, I fished every event, and CKA, I fished about half. So I was busy, man. I've been busy enjoying this local thing that we got here. And now, Daniel and Jeremy and Steven up in the mountains, they've got clubs that they're cooking up. Before you know it, we're going to have like 8, 9 clubs here in the state.
Yeah.
Why travel? If I travel to Texas to win $3,000, but I'm going to spend $1,500 on the trip, I can just fish here and fish 3 or 4 events and maybe make half that, and I don't spend even a fraction of that. So mathematically, there's not a lot of motivation to go. It's you at those events, for me at least now, you're fishing for the glory, unless you're in the running for like $10, $15, $20,000. So I'm not one of these people who looks at life in terms of the bottom line. I remember having somebody complain about ROI one time. I was like, what the hell's ROI? Oh, it's a return on investment. Like,
in the wrong sport if you're looking at
this
ROI.
isn't Wall Street.
Yeah.
This ain't Wall Street. Like, go play the stock market, like it's a fishing tournament. And for me, the thing that I've realized that I really enjoy about the fishing tournament scene is the people in it. Because I want to go catch bass. I'll just, I live on the edge of Jordan Lake. I can drive right down the street and go fish there. It's free.
Yeah.
So we have this big community here, and I'm looking ahead without looking ahead. I'm just looking whatever happens. That's how I'm looking at things these days. If I get to Murray, fine. If I don't, fine. My motivation for going to Murray is that last year I lost the biggest damn fish I ever hooked, and I got it all on video, and I've been watching it. It keeps me up at night. I'm like, oh man, I want to go back and catch one of those Murray giants. That lake has crazy fish in it.
Yeah, it's insane. That lake is.
Yeah,
insane.
I've fished some lakes. I've never seen a lake with fish that quality.
Yeah, and they're everywhere.
Yeah,
bloody everywhere.
And you don't hear that much. Like Lake Murray, I never heard much about it.
No.
And Chad Hoover told me a story. He went fishing on the river there a few years ago, before they started doing KBF events there. And they caught 20 fish over 22 inches, 20 bass over 22 inches, and released them. And the guy caught like a 14-pounder and lost another one that was bigger.
Wouldn't doubt it. There's some crazy fish in that place.
It's crazy, man.
When you're up there the dam side where you can see things, you see them all over the place. You see schools of them swimming under your kayak. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's definitely worth a trip if no one's fished that lake at that time of year. I'm not sure what it's like the rest of the year, but definitely that end of February, beginning of March is just insane on that lake.
Yeah, I went there last year. Remember, it rained. It was a bad day, the first KBF trail event.
Yeah.
And the second day, if I landed that fish, I had a pretty good chance. I had a really good day on the second day because I figured them out, and I'd love to go back and fish a fishery like that again.
Yeah.
But whatever. We'll see what happens, man. I'm good. The important thing is, I've learned to pace myself, and I'm going to do more of that next year and just enjoy what you guys do.
Yeah. Yep. It's I think it's awesome the amount of clubs that we have, and it's funny because we kind of got people thought we were kind of crazy for supporting other clubs, like we were taking bread off our table or something. I never really cared about it. It's just like whatever. If there's a different format and people want to fish that, then go fish it. Like, you need a smaller entry fee, or if you'd rather have this, or you don't want motors, there's options, and I think that's great. And this year, everything seems to be turning around where it's our attendance was great and the other clubs' attendance was good, so it's not hurting anybody. It's just growing the sport, and keeping things positive has helped.
Exactly. It's a good thing. It's fishing,
Yeah, just want to go have fun.
Yeah, and I want to see everybody, have a good time. And when guys finishing the money for the first time and they get that feeling of like, yeah, man, I finally did it. Like, I want to be there and shake their hand and congratulate them, because I remember how good it felt when, like, Rick shook my hand and was like, "Hey, man, good job."
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn, I feel great. I'm gonna go fight Mike Tyson."
Yeah, right. Go bite somebody's ear off. Good to go. Yeah, we're lucky. Even this season coming up, the amount of big trails that we have next door is ridiculous. You got Sandy Cooper, you got two Ed Murray, you got Norman, next state over at Chickamauga, Gunnersville. It's not far. So,
and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bags too much, because Chad will yell at me when I talk to him tomorrow. But that river series that he's doing, he's going to make an interesting announcement about that, and where they're going to be doing a championship for that event soon. And I know that there are some other people out there who would rather fish on a river than a lake, as I like fishing on rivers. And I'm really looking forward to that. So that's going to be an extra kind of a bigger event, but you got to qualify for that. So look into that too. Yeah, I love it, man. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you, Rick. Congratulations again, Angler of the Decade.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's an honor. Yeah. There again, it's an honor. Just trying to keep ahead of these other anglers. So, I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. And
thank you, Rick.
We'll see you this season on the lake, and hopefully cashing more checks.
Hopefully. That's
all right.
Have a happy New Year, buddy.
You
all
too.
Right, happy New Year,
everybody. And thank you, everybody, for the comments as well.
Absolutely.
Word.
All right, guys. We'll talk soon.
I'll see you later, buddy. Later, Eric.